Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another of our Lunch and Learns here at Action Coaching Birmingham. It's great to have you all with us, whether you're listening to us on Zoom or whether you're logged in via Facebook or LinkedIn. Whichever platform you're on this lunchtime, do stick with us. We've got a really interesting Lunch and Learn all about making the most of social media. And I'm really pleased to welcome a new guest who's not been with us before. We've got Rachel from Eisel Biz. Good afternoon, Rachel. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
No, well, it's really good to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to learning how we can all make the most of social media. It's such a big part of any marketing mix in any organization. Well, if it's not, it should be, is what we're going to be saying. But you're going to be telling us a bit more about, how we can really maximize that opportunity. So it's great to have you with us. And I'll come back to you in a moment, Rachel, just so you can tell us a bit more about what you do. But if you are listening on any of those platforms and have any questions for us this Lunch and Learn, please do put them in the comments box. If you're listening to us later on in the day, perhaps you're having your afternoon supper, afternoon tea, or your evening supper, please do put any questions in, because Rachel and I will still reach out. We'll still connect with you after this webinar has finished, or if you're listening to us on YouTube. So please do engage, and we'd love to hear where you're listening to us from. We've had some really interesting locations, Rachel, over the last 12 months. We've been out over to Canada and into France, in Europe.
Wow.
So we are Action Coach Birmingham, but we're reaching further afield, which is great. That's
the power of social media.
There we go. So Rachel, tell us a bit more about what you do at Eisel.biz, at Eisel Digital.
So Eisel Digital, it was Eisel Social up until sort of the end of last year, but I have branched out into the digital marketing forum. So originally starting off with organic social media content, etc. But now I offer paid advertising, so Facebook and Instagram paid advertising campaigns and shops and management, as well as Google Ads, etc. So basically, as you know, 2020 has did become the light bulb moment for a lot of businesses, where they finally gave into the social media or digital marketing pressure, because they knew that there we go, blinding flash of the obvious.
Absolutely. We all had one of those at the beginning of 2020, didn't we?
Absolutely. So I was getting inquiries from businesses that would certainly have never considered digital marketing before, so that's fantastic.
And I think for many organizations, certainly many of my clients, Rachel, who I had been working with prior to 2020, and I was just saying before we started, including myself actually, in terms of using technology and harnessing it to its best effect, we're all sort of, well, we don't want to do that. I'd rather stick to my traditional methods of what I know and I'm used to, and myself included, in terms of how we delivered our content. Most of ours was face to face and not online. So I think 2020, that lockdown moment, it's almost a year ago now, isn't it? When we went into this lockdown phase, we suddenly realized we need to change something. We need to do something different. And I guess that's where social media really started to have that impact, didn't it? People really started to turn to, looking at alternative marketing approaches. And I presume, Rachel, you've seen a real change in your business in terms of, the number of clients and how people are making best use of social media going forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's everything from me getting inquiries from how can people, at the beginning of 2020, this time last year, I should say, not the beginning of 2020. So this time last year, or sort of April time last year, was when I was getting a lot of contact from businesses to inquire how they could set themselves up on social media, because they realised the value in it. And actually, especially if they had a bricks and mortar business, their footfall obviously was completely gone, so they needed to be able to market themselves online. So it's had a huge impact, and actually the growth in social media, certainly for Facebook and Instagram, has so over 2020 and going into 2021 has far outreached the estimates. So I was looking at figures last week, and the estimates going forward for 2022 and 23, actually 2020, so this was back into 2019, the growth has actually is more like what it would have been, or what they were predicting for next year and the year after. So it's huge.
It feels like certainly, you know, my twins had their birthday last April. They have it every April actually. But
That's funny.
I
Both
remember
of them.
going, yeah, but they both had a birthday in April, and I remember doing a Zoom party with, you know, their school friends and with, you know, sort of my parents and the children's grandparents, etc. And if you'd said to me last Christmas, you know, you'd be doing parties on Zoom and you'd be working in this way, I'd have laughed. You know, we've all been sort of catapulted without any choice in the matter forward a decade in terms of, I feel, how we are using and harnessing technology. But there's a great quote which I shared with you just before we started, and for me, it's not about a choice of whether we do social media or not. It's a question of how well we do it. And when I say that, Rachel, you know what comes into my mind? My daughter, who I say is 9, keeps saying, "Daddy, can we do a TikTok?" And I have no idea what she's on about. And I'm not sure how well I would do a TikTok, because I think it's a video based, you know, sort of a bit of a it's not something I've particularly got into. I know a bit about what it is, but I don't use it. But she keeps pressuring me, "Daddy, we need to do a TikTok together." So, you know, I'd love to know more, Rachel, from you in terms of, I know you're an expert on Facebook and Instagram. They're your core areas of expertise. But, you know, I guess my first question, I know you're going to talk to us about different platforms, but where do we start? You know, if I was going to go into business, do I go onto TikTok? Do I go onto LinkedIn? Do I go onto Facebook or Instagram? You know, it's that starting point, isn't it, for some people?
Absolutely. You've actually got the opposite problem to me, because my daughter won't involve me in TikToks. Yes, so absolutely. And it's like any marketing, it's where is your audience? So, I mean, with any marketing, the first thing you do is you identify your ideal client or your ideal customer, and then where do they hang out? What do they do? What are their interests, etc.
Yeah.
And businesses that would be marketing on LinkedIn and Twitter, for example, they might not find their audience on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Facebook tends to be sort of the blended one in the middle. So I would say Twitter and LinkedIn definitely for B2B businesses, but for business to customer, it's definitely Instagram, Facebook. And yes, some businesses are actually using TikTok. Pinterest is another one. And on all of those platforms, you can actually have paid advertising campaigns as well, where you can actually find your audience interests and interrupt their feed or interrupt their viewing with your sponsored advertising campaigns. So you can do that on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course Google, but that's not social media.
So the great starting point, as you were saying, is really thinking about, you know, as with any marketing strategy, try and understand who your customer is, who it is you're trying to reach, and really drill down, you know, in terms of what kind of job might they have, what kind of income might they have, where might they live, because all of these things, I presume, will come into use when you're trying to, you know, sort of create that marketing or that promotional advertising opportunity on social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, because you want to talk to your customer. And the other thing about social media, actually, which is really important, is social media is social. So it's not sell. It's, again, like with any marketing, and actually this has happened again a lot more in the last 12 months, is that brands with personality, they bring their personality across on social media, and people buy into that. So a great one is, I can't remember the name of the smoothie makers.
Is it Innocent? No.
Innocent. They are amazing on social media, and it's because they're not, you know, they even sometimes make up things, like they've made a smoothie out of beans and something else just to get engagement, but to get engagement from a comedy perspective. So they're known as being lighthearted and funny. But yeah, and that's the clever thing about social media. You do, for me myself, I'm a one-man band, so one woman band, I should say. I'm not a man. But yeah, so for me myself, I can and am very much myself on social media. But I know the type of customer that I want to work with, or the type of client that I want to work with and want to attract. So through using my voice and being myself, I will attract that. And as well as that, it's about addressing your customers or clients' pain points. So for yourself, it's looking at, you know, do you need help and support in growing your business? You know, obviously sportsmen have coaches. Why don't business people, etc.
Yeah.
So it's looking at pain points. So it's building a whole strategy, but the strategy is not every single post you do is. It's not selling a product. It's not, you know, that's a very small part of what you do on social media.
And and my experience over the last 12 months, certainly, if not a bit longer, is that the messaging of any marketing strategy, not just social media, but it has had to change. So it's not about sell, close the deal. It's about how can we support and engage. My understanding is social media is also about building personal credibility, isn't it? It's about the individual, not the business. So it's about building your credibility, Rachel, my credibility as a coach. You know, it's not about promoting Action Coach as a business. It's about promoting the individual. Is that fair to say, or is it?
Yeah, absolutely, because people will buy from or will buy into brands that they trust.
Yes.
And social media is the platform, or social media platforms, I should say, are the place where you can reach those people and they will notice you and begin to trust you. And you will, and it's all about, you'll know this, Steve, it's all about attracting the right person for your business anyway. You know, so it's someone that would want to work with me may not want to work with another digital marketer because of the difference in the way that they work, the difference in tone of voice, and conversely the other way around. You know, I don't, you know, not everybody wants to work with me, so, and that's absolutely fine, because everybody wants to work with people that they can work with well, and that's the same with products as well. So if you're building up a trustworthy voice on social media, I mean, and this is where a lot of the bigger brands use influencers, etc., then people will buy into that. And it's about being, again, especially in the last 12 months, being sympathetic to what's going on in the world as well. So, you know, everybody's strategy went out the window, I would say, this time last year, everybody's social media strategy, because, you know, I mean, it's still dominating the headlines now. But obviously this time last year, because it was such an unknown entity, the pandemic was dominating the headlines. So everybody's strategy just went out the window. Face-to-face events had to be cancelled. Everything just went out the window. So it had to be adapted. And that's the fast-pacedness of social media. You can do that.
I think in the last 12 months, our social media plans and our marketing plans for any organisation went out the window more than once, didn't they?
Yeah, more than once, yes.
Every time lockdown started and ended, or ended and started, you know, I think we all had to adjust. You know, I think the hospitality industry.
Oh, absolutely, the poor hospitality industry.
Well, we had Eat Out to help out in August, didn't we? And then lockdown again in September, October. You know, it's been like, it has been a roller coaster for every single organisation.
Absolutely, yeah,
and every single one of us as an individual as well. And I think you say people buy from people, and you know, it's where we can really, you know, sort of be ourselves on social media and sort of, you know, connect with people on that, you know, one-to-one basis. But Rachel, I know you are specifically have an area of expertise in terms of Facebook and Instagram, and I think you've got some slides to share, haven't you, in terms of just giving us some tips and hints on how we can really make the most of those particular platforms. Did you want to share your screen, or do you want to just talk through what you've got with us?
If I could share my screen, that would be great. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you should be able to, I think, if you want to. Have you got share at the bottom?
Yeah, it's I think you need to just tick the box to say that somebody else can share. There we go.
There we go.
This will stop at the, yes, I do want to stop.
So I've just got a question coming in from Claire, actually, while we're just doing that. She's saying, how many hours would you recommend spending on social media each week? That's an easy one to answer. There's you know, how long is a piece of string?
That's the $6 million question. Actually, just before I go to answer that, this presentation I've actually done in Canva, and Canva is a platform which I use for designing a lot of my posts and stuff. And actually, a lot of people can use that. You can sign up for free to Canva, and it's absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, and this is, I mean, this is obviously it looks a bit like PowerPoint. This is in presentation mode, but you can do all the social media posts on there, and you can do them in the correct sizes for each platform, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I was second that, Rachel. We use it here at Action Coach as well.
Yeah. So with regard to how many minutes to spend on social media, that's there's many factors. So for example, there's things like I mean, if we look at these figures here, there's 3.2 billion, I should say, daily social media users spending an average of 142 minutes a day on social media. Now, the importance there is when we say how much time should you spend on it, spending time on social media to me isn't just about posting, it's about engaging, it's about looking at other people's content. I mean, social media is obviously a great place for educating yourself on other people's businesses, as well as upskilling in your own, etc. So one important thing is engagement on social media as with regard to engaging. I mean, I've got here local stuff. So if you're looking to connect with local businesses, engaging with local business on social media is very important. Myself, and I think this is probably some of the habits or the habits of most people. Yes, I do have it open all day because obviously I've got it on my desktop for the purposes of clients. But I'm looking at maybe advertising campaigns, which is at the back end. I check my feed first thing I do in the morning. I open my eyes, grab my phone, check my feed. So I would say I probably spend in half-hour increments. I would say I probably do that about 3 or 4 times a day, but that's a lot, and I acknowledge that that's a lot, and that's because I work in the industry. Whereas if I was a hairdresser, I probably wouldn't be able to do that because I have to use another tool for my. So it's whatever is best for you. I always recommend, if you're posting, when and if you are posting, try and do some engagement beforehand. Engagement on Instagram, things like commenting on other people's posts, saving posts as well. So you can have your own little library of saved posts on Instagram, sharing other people's content. So you can share from a grid to your stories. So things like that. And the same on Facebook. So, and that's actually really great so sharing content on Facebook, is great for building rapport with other businesses, but also it means that you're sharing content. So at that point, you're not thinking about, oh, what have I got to post, which actually you should have covered in your strategy at the beginning anyway. So
another question, Rachel, if you don't mind me interrupting as we go along. So Manny is asking, has he got the wrong content or the wrong platform? He's not getting much traction.
Depends what platform. So that goes back to what I said at the beginning. Where is your audience? So that would depend on what type of business it is, where his audience is. So it's thinking about where do my clients hang out. If they don't hang out on Facebook and Instagram, don't try and attract them on there. Things like, if they are hanging out on Facebook and Instagram, are you using hashtags? You can use up to 30 on Instagram. I would only recommend using 2 or 3 on Facebook, because it's just visually, it hurts my eyes, and never use them within the text. So for example, today's St. Patrick's Day, which I'm sure everybody's noticed. There's a lot of it going on social media today.
I'm loving the green behind you, Rachel.
Yes, I have got the green on today. So I wouldn't write happy hashtag St. Patrick's Day. I would write happy St. Patrick's Day and then put a hashtag beneath it, just because it's visually easier for people to read rather than putting hashtags within text. And it's the type of content that he's sharing. Is he asking? Is there a call to action? Are you asking a question? Are you asking people's opinions? So things like that. You want to encourage engagement. More engagement, the more reach you get.
And Manny, I would suggest maybe pick up the phone and have a conversation with Rachel direct. You might be able to go into it in a bit more detail. It
would be easier to answer the question if I knew what type of business, etc. it was.
And I guess my other thought, Rachel, is it with any social media, whatever platform, you're not going to get instant results overnight. It's about building credibility. We talked about credibility earlier on. It's about building up slowly, isn't it? And getting,
Absolutely.
I never quite know what it means by the word algorithm, but there's the way these social media platforms work in the background. You've got to get used to that, haven't you, or find out what works best for you.
The most important thing is, again, back to the social media is social, is each platform wants you to be engaged on the platform, so they don't want you to post and run. So if you're not engaging, and this is, like I say, on any platform, so this goes for LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, if you're not engaging in other people's posts and looking at content, making comments, either liking, loving, laughing, caring, I can't think of all the other things you can do, actually a like, so all the other ways that you can show your engagement. So a like is actually less valuable than a caring a heart, or you can do an applause on LinkedIn. There's a light bulb on LinkedIn. So a like is actually the least valuable way of engaging. If you use the others, it's better.
Wow, that's a good tip there. I didn't know that, Rachel. So
yeah, so
give us love rather than give us a like is what we should be saying.
Yeah, so give us a love, or give us a care, or an angry face if you're angry with us. Does us a favour anyway. So I've just put together some stuff here for why Facebook and Instagram for business. As I mentioned, there's 3.2 billion daily social media users. Average of 142 minutes a day are spent on them, and over half of online purchases are via mobile phone. 2/3 of Facebook users visit a local Facebook page at least once a week. Now, if you think of yourself how you use it, I would say maybe I'm not the norm because, I'm not normal. No, but just because I work in social media. But 9 times out of 10 people look at a business, and the first thing they look at will be their social media, and then perhaps they'll get guided. They'll go to their website. And this is why it all works together. It all needs to work together. Instagram has 1.74 billion users as of 2021, and like I say, that far exceeds what was predicted for 2020. So it's grown far more than what was predicted 2 years ago, and 83% of users research products or services on Instagram. So on here, I've just got some pointers on how to get the most out of the platforms.
Rachel, you may have said this already on Instagram. What is the typical demographics of Instagram? Is it sort of a younger age group?
Interestingly, and that's a really good question. Again, this is where the pandemic has played a part. So it was a younger age group. So if you think of from sort of the age 18, possibly up to the age of into early 30s. But obviously what happens is people get older and people stick with what they know. So the age groups tend to move. But what's also happened is the fact that people have recognised how much better it is for business. So business owners may be a bit older, so they've started to use the platform. And also the pandemic has opened up new avenues because people have been at home. They've wanted to know how to use different platforms and different things, and they've had time on their hands basically. So they've looked at Instagram. So it goes anywhere up to, I would say, 45 to 50. And yeah, so it's the pandemic. So what has happened as well is Instagram has adapted, and all the platforms actually have adapted they've had numerous updates over the last 12 months in order to cater for all these users that are at home. And one of the features that Instagram brought out to compete with TikTok is Reels. And they're very, very similar to TikTok. So where basically the younger audience obviously was on TikTok, they've now brought those across to Instagram as well. So you may even get a much younger audience on Instagram, but it's also, they're not losing older audiences such as myself and yourself, Steve, in our age range, I should say.
Friends reunited, Rachel.
Remember
and
that?
MySpace.
Remember that?
I do. It's like my first interaction with social media is Friends
Friends
United.
Reunited. Oh my
Back in the day, I can't remember when it was now, but it must be
Yeah,
early
I remember
2000s.
that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I've just aged myself there, haven't I?
yeah. Well, you've aged me now as well. So yeah, so people that so basically, yeah, that demographic they may have lost to TikTok. Instagram have actually really craftily said, no, you can do it all here. It's fine. We've got the same features. So I would say Instagram's got quite a wider age range now than it did.
Right.
And actually, I would say although obviously it's owned by Facebook. Instagram has more engagement and stuff as well on there. It seems to be the place where everyone's at the moment, I would say from my perspective.
Good. Well, it's good to know that we're not. What am I trying to say? Yeah, sort of Facebook, etc. If we're getting too old for that, we can always lean into and move on to.
There's always somewhere to be.
There's always somewhere to go, isn't there? But
yeah.
I've noticed on Facebook, I know you might have been talking so much about this, but they also now do stories and things on there now as well?
Yeah. So I mean, and this is something that I'll cover a little bit later on. So we've got how do you get the most out of the platform? So correct account setup, that's really important, both on Facebook and on Instagram. Now it's not so obvious on Instagram. Obviously Facebook, you have your own personal profile and then a business page, whereas Instagram, it's quite hard to tell the difference. But if you've got a personal Instagram account and then haven't changed it to business, you won't be able to see any insights on your posts, so you won't be able to see when your users are online, which posts are doing well, etc. It's really easy to do. You don't have to shut down your personal account and then open a business account. You can just change them, and you can also have a creator account on Instagram as well. So your account on Instagram can be personal, business, or creator. I have a creator account. There are other options as well, but like I say, you don't have to shut one down and then open one up. You can just change them. Strategy, yeah.
Just on the account.
Sorry, yeah.
Rachel, Claire's just asking, are all social media accounts free?
Yes.
Okay. So
all basic social media accounts are free. So it's free to set up Instagram, it's free to set up Facebook. Anything that you want to do, in fact, you can post all the posting, everything's free. There is a paid option, which obviously gets you more whatever bells and whistles, if you like. But everything is free to set up and to use on all social media. So yeah, that
answers your question, Claire.
So strategy and strategy, organic and paid. Now, when I use the phrase organic, I mean that your everyday posting. So when you're posting about your everyday posting. I can't actually, that's really bad. I can't think of a post, but yeah, so your everyday stuff, but that is part of a strategy. So organic, so you will, some people try to think of a 12-month strategy, which I'm sure a lot of people had last year, but it all went out the window. But yeah, at least 3 to 4 month strategy, especially if you're in something like e-commerce and you're selling, you're a selling business. So you want to give yourself good lead times to get your products out there and sell. So you don't want to start marketing for Christmas on December the 19th. You want to start marketing for Christmas. You need to think about Christmas in the summer, basically, and how are you going to do it? What strategy are you going to use? What organic posting are you going to use? What paid posts are you going to use? Obviously, that isn't set in concrete. That can change as we've seen in the last 12 months. But yeah, a basic strategy in place is important to get the most out of the platforms, because then you're not scrapping around and thinking, what do I do? What do I post? Regular posting, and that, now a lot of people say, do I have to post every day? Do I have to post? What do I post?
The most common question we get, yeah.
Yeah, it's the most, because there's so many various features now on each platform. It's whatever works for you. Now, remember, I'm specifically talking about Facebook and I'm not talking about LinkedIn today. Facebook and Instagram. So you may want to use store. I post a story, at least one story a day, they're only up for 24 hours, and that then doesn't go on my grid. And then I might do a couple of grid posts a week, and I'll try and do a couple of reels a month. So it's whatever works for you. One thing I do always say as well, and this is where obviously outsourcing comes in handy, but one thing I do say is if you put yourself under too much pressure to post every day and you haven't got a strategy or you haven't got anything in place, it's actually going to become really stressful, and if it becomes stressful, you're going to avoid it. So so this is where these two work together really well. Calls to action. So the key thing to do is to encourage engagement. So calls to action such as, so putting posts up such as, I've recently changed my branding, so what do you think about which of these logos do you prefer, A or B, and just asking someone to put that in the comments, etc. So things like that.
One of the biggest things I see missing actually, on Facebook and LinkedIn in particular is that call to action. So ask the question or ask somebody to do something, to click on something. It really, yes, it's a missed opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, and that as well. So for things like sharing blog posts or product information, your call to action on there can be link in bio, because when you're posting on Instagram, you can't post a clickable link in the caption. But you can have a link in your bio, and I would advise when you're doing that, so to have a link tree or some such account where they click on the link and there's various different obvious places where they can click to find stuff. As a user, and this is what I was saying, engage with the content on the platform, share content from other users if relevant to your business. Obviously, I covered that earlier with regard to, I often see, and it doesn't have to be, don't think of people as competitors all the time. So I might see a post that's really great from somebody else in digital marketing or social media, and I will just use that and use the it looks like a paper aeroplane underneath the post, and share that to my stories. Obviously always credit the original poster. Okay, I use a variety of content, so video, images. The most engaging content is video, and if you are going to use video, so if you're using recorded content, do use captions and headlines. Instagram you can do captions on Instagram, so when you're talking, the subtitles captions will come up, but there's some figure, I think it's about 85 to 90% of users actually watch video on silent. So
I heard a quote the other day. It's one of the most compulsive buttons on the internet, isn't it? If somebody sees a play button, our human intrigue takes over, and even if we only play the first few seconds, which obviously gives an indication of how you create a video. We've done separate lunch and learns on video content, but you've got to capture somebody's imagination, capture them in that first few seconds. But having video does create so much more engagement, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you say, it's those first few seconds to pull them into the video is vital. And actually, Facebook and Instagram, so the way the algorithm works, so for myself, when I look at my client stuff, I can see how many people have watched a video for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. So it's really interesting. And from there, you can build audiences in order to market to, because you know that if somebody's watched your 15-second video for 15 seconds, they're interested in your business. So then you would retarget them with an offer, etc. And the other thing is, don't be afraid.
I love that point.
Just be yourself. Because it's, people, social media is about real people, and everybody, absolutely I said to you earlier, I've never done, this is my first live stream. I've done videos, etc. But I haven't done this, and actually it is a little bit daunting, but it'll be tomorrow's, tomorrow's fish and chip paper, if you like.
Well, so far so good, Rachel. So, we're doing well. We're doing well.
That's good. So,
yes, I was mentioning stories a minute ago, wasn't I? It's a new
yeah,
feature I've noticed on Facebook. I have to be honest, I have been afraid. I've not used it much yet, or at all
right.
actually, on a personal level. But I'd love to know a bit more about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you're just looking at the features on how you can use them. So, like I say, these, if you're thinking about, if you want to post every day, or you're looking at, you don't have to post a grid post, or you don't have to post a page post every day. These are just as good. They're good for engagement. Obviously, but the only thing is to be aware that they're only going to be there for 24 hours, but they are kept in an archive, so you can go back and see stuff that you've done. So, for example, on Insights in Instagram, you can go back. There's like a clock with an arrow around it, and if you click on that, it shows a calendar of all the stories you've done.
Right.
So that is quite handy. And they don't have to be as aesthetically pleasing as a grid post or a page post, maybe. So it's something that you can do real quick. These are the stickers on the stories on Instagram. So the location key now, sticker, I should say. If you click on that, it will take you to where it will come up with a list of wherever you are. For example, Birmingham, or I'm on the Birmingham Solihull border, so it'll say Solihull. But it will actually. So if you were in I don't know, if you were at the NEC, for example, but it's not called the NEC anymore. Anyway, if you were at the NEC, for example, it would bring specifically that place up. So that's really good if you are trying to promote a business, or you're at a business. Obviously, we're not visiting many businesses at the moment, but that's really good for that. Mention as well, for stories. So, for example, today, I'm doing a live, so I'll probably put a mention on there. Actually, I need to take a picture of this, don't I? Hashtags are hugely important on Instagram. Like I said earlier, they are. You can use up to 30 on your grid post in the captions. In stories, you can only use the hashtag sticker once, but you can, if you add text, there's the option to add text onto your stories, which actually is animated now as well. There's a grid post about that on my Instagram. You can add a couple of hashtags in there. So these are really good reach hashtags. They make a difference. Now, stories don't have as good a reach as they used to, but they still it's still something happening on your account on your profile every day. Now I've put here, you can link your Instagram and I've put reels there, so I didn't mean reels, I meant stories. So can link Instagram and Facebook stories, so dual posts. So when I create a story on my Instagram, it posts it onto my Facebook stories as well, which is really handy. I don't do it with my grid posts, just because I use a lot of hashtags, and like I said, it hurts my eyes on Facebook. So I do, if I'm replicating the content on Facebook, then I will just post it or schedule it so it comes up a little differently. But you can that's a really handy feature for stories. You can add music to stories as well if you've got a creator account. Some accounts you will get music, some accounts you won't get music. It's a bit hit and miss at the moment, I'm afraid. Questions, now this is good. And polls, let me start with polls. Actually, polls, this is actually something which is like a yes no answer, or a preference type of answer. So it gives you two options. So you ask the question, and then you can fill in the box with either yes or no. Or, for example, the other day I was delighted to find salt and vinegar and prawn cocktail quavers were back. So I asked the question.
Social media.
So I asked the question, which do you prefer, salt and vinegar prawn cocktail? And the interaction I got on that was ridiculous. So yeah, I got loads of people. It was actually salt and vinegar was the winner. So
Rachel, keeping the question simple, so people haven't got to think too much about it. I mean, it's an easy question to answer, that, isn't it? Whereas if you ask quite a complex business question, or something else, you're not going to necessarily get, because people, it's a very quick platform.
It's a quick, very quick.
People will flick with their thumb or their finger.
It's all, and that's the thing, and actually that's a really valid point, Steve, is that it has to be, everything has to be simple, has to be easy for the user to do. The easier it is for them to do, the more likely they are to interact. With regard to that, so you just said about asking a business question, which yes, you can ask a business question, but obviously try and make it with a simple one-word answer. But behind the scenes of the business, so the personality of the business comes through. So, from that you can tell that I'm a bit of a crispaholic. So, there's no harm in posting stuff like that on your stories. It's going to be gone in 24 hours, and it's like I say, you attract like for like.
I'm going to age myself. I was gutted myself, Rachel, when Worcester sauce French fries disappeared off the shelves. But they are back. They are back.
Are they?
Yeah, in multi-packs.
Oh, I'll be looking for them next. Behind the scenes, so putting a bit of your personality into stories is great. The other thing you can do in stories, which I've already mentioned, is you can share so you can share grid posts, other people's grid posts into your stories. Again, that's on Instagram. Stickers encouraging great engagement. Now, product tags for e-commerce. Now, this is amazing. So Facebook and Instagram have got shops. Oh, that's Reels. So I'm going to go to shops. So you can, if you've got an e-commerce business, so you're selling an actual product. Unfortunately, service businesses can't use this at the moment. If you're selling an actual product, you can set up a shop on Facebook and Instagram, and you can product tag on your posts. So you can imagine the amount of engagement that encourages, and it gets people to buy your stuff.
Does that keep people in the platform itself? So would I be staying in Instagram or Facebook, or is it sending me off to your website to buy that?
It sends to website in the UK. In the US, and I think it will be coming in the UK as well. In the US, you can actually do the whole thing on Instagram and Facebook. Wow. So there's a checkout, etc. But to be honest, it does no harm to send them to your website, because obviously that's good for your SEO and etc. Anyway, so it all works well. But yeah, so here on your Instagram feed, you'll see here, this is a shopping tab, and if you click on that, it will bring up a shopping feed. And just from your interests, etc., as we know, Facebook and Instagram know a lot about our interests. They will show stuff that they think you're interested in. Now, this is obviously Whistles, which is a huge brand. So this is the sort of stuff it brings up. You can save. This here lets you save them. So, you can literally think, say you were looking for stuff to go to a wedding. If they ever happen again, you might look at that and think, oh yeah, I'll save that, and I'll save that, and then you could go to another brand and see stuff. You could save that, and then you just go into your saved posts, and everything it's a bit like going through a shop and picking stuff up off the, and then going to the changing room. So you got all your saved stuff in your saved section. And then you whittle it down as to what you want to buy. But yeah, as you can see here, so if you clicked on that, it brings you through to view on website. The other thing you can do, so this is the share on Instagram. Like I said, it looks like a paper aeroplane. So you could send that to, so for example, I could, if I was going with a friend to a wedding or wherever, I could say, oh, I think that would look really nice on so and so, and send it to them on a private message, or I could share it on my Instagram stories or whatever. So it's huge. So I've got some stuff on here about the some info stuff. I've got some info on the shopping here. They can be tagged, so you can tag your products in posts and stories. You have a separate shopping feed. Grid posts you can tag up to 5 products per image, or if you've got carousel of images, which is where you swipe on Instagram, and you've got more than one image, you can tag up to 20 posts, and then it drives traffic within your post to your website for purchase, obviously. In order to do this, you will need to set up Facebook Business and Commerce Manager to do it, which is something you can have a try it yourself, but it is something that I have got experience in doing, and I do manage shops and catalogues for some of my clients.
Now, Rach, just want to go back to a previous point. You were saying obviously it's very clearly easy, well, simple to see how this can be used in a productized business. You say it's not yet available for service-based, but how would you see it working for a service-based organization? Sorry?
I'm gutted. So for myself, for example, I would be able to maybe put a PDF on there, 5 tips on how to, maybe not 5 tips, but something, quite an in-depth document on how to, sell some sort of a course, if you like. So you could use it that way, and then they could click through to your website. They could book on.
Yes, yeah.
And then so you could tag, basically. So for example, you might have a client that's got a brilliant testimonial about a course or something they've been on. You share that as a post, and then if they were to bring it in service industries, you could then tag whatever product, so whatever coaching product they'd had from yourself, you could tag that product in the post, and it would bring people straight through to it, and they could book onto it. So I think they are actually looking at it for service industries.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be a massive game changer.
Yes, yeah. So watch this space, everyone.
Yeah.
You've heard it here first. Action Coach Live.
Yeah. We should do a news round, shouldn't we? Oh, I can't go backwards.
No, I'm going to age myself now. John Craven.
Oh, it's not letting me go backwards, is it? Oh, it's restarted. Hold on 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
There we go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go through Reels. So we spoke briefly about Reels earlier, which are very similar to TikTok. So they're 15 to 30 seconds, and they are videos. So this is where you find your Reels feed on Instagram. It's the little almost checkerboard action board with a arrow in the middle, and it has it's got its own separate feed. As I said, they're videos, so it's not, it has to be moving images, but that can be, yes, it can be people in videos, but you can use a series of images that you've animated either. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't, it's just about thinking creatively about how you can use them. They've got really, really, really big reach. So what happens is when you post a reel, you can, you need to look at them for inspiration, because there's trend. It's very like TikTok. You'll get trends going on and stuff. But when you post a reel, it takes you to and you're ready to post, it will take you to a screen, and you can put a caption on there. And again, this is where you put your hashtags for each. Mm-hmm. And the reel it will also give you the option as to whether to post the reel to your grid, so that's like your front page on your Instagram, or whether to your grid and reel, or whether you just want it to go in the Reels feed. I would always advise to post it to both, even if you're the sort of business or you've got the account where you it has to be aesthetically pleasing. I would post it initially to the grid, and maybe go back a couple of days later, and you can actually take it off the grid, but it's still in the Reels feed. So yeah, it's a fun and an interactive way to promote your business again. And you can, they can literally just be, I've done a few where it's just me talking to camera saying, "Oh, have you heard about the latest update? Blah 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 blah," and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, wacky. It can be just literally a few seconds. Well, I say a few seconds, between 15 and 30, but it does. Again, you can do 10 seconds. It doesn't have to be those two figures. Okay, and you can put music over them. They are really, 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 really good. Excuse the pun. But yeah, so
it doesn't have to be you on camera, does it? Either it can be something else. So
it can be anything.
A lot of viewers, my clients, for example, are sometimes a bit photos not photogenic, but that's the wrong phrase either. But they don't like to be on camera themselves. They'd rather be having, filming something else or photographing something else. I think, we all have those moments, don't we? We don't want to be in front of the screen. So it can be of something else, of a product, of a service, or your team.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I mean, you can make an MP4 out of images. So a popular one actually is starting up your day, or maybe again if it's selling a product or service, the start to the end, and it can be a hyperlapse, so a quicker video, because obviously there's not a lot of things that you can create in 30 seconds, but yeah, so you could just give glimpses and take photos throughout the process, and then put them together so that they're a small video, and you don't have to be on camera at all. You can put music or you can talk over it.
There seems to be only from my own experience, correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, but an increase in people doing unpacking box sort of films, or indeed doing packing up of their product, or before it's shipped off to the customer. Have you seen an increase in that recently?
Yeah, and that's that's the thing, and which is what I was saying earlier about stories as well. It's all about being behind the scenes. What's going on. People are nosy, basically. But yeah, so things like that are engaging, and I think that's the key, isn't it? You need it to be engaging. And like I say, I would advise, before you start creating your reels, or if you have no experience of doing them, is to have a look through the reels feed, to see what sort of things are going on, because you will get inspiration. And actually, it's handy. So there are no reels on Facebook, but you can use your reel on Facebook. So you can download it before you post it to Instagram, and then you can use it as a video on Facebook. But to search, so for example, you might want to search a hashtag which is relevant to your business. That will then bring posts up in that that have used the hashtag, and it will also bring up reels that have used the hashtag. So for me, I would search social hashtag digital marketing, and it will bring up then, and then you'll get inspiration as to what to do. Obviously, don't copy, but you will get inspiration.
Brilliant. I'm conscious of time. We've got about 10 minutes left, Rachel. You've gone through so much already. I don't want to cut you short either. I don't know if you've got other things you want to share, but I'm conscious for some of our listeners, we've covered so much in such a short space of time. If there was sort of 3 or 4, or say 3 top tips of someone who's just starting out on social media, who wants to improve their presence on social media, what would you be saying to them?
I would say, first of all, the important thing is to ensure that your platform, whether it be your profile on Instagram or your page on Facebook, is set up properly. So you want things like probably auto responding on your messages, because then Facebook and Instagram know that you are actually there and a viable business. It needs to be set up properly. Second thing is, talk to your audience. So, and use what sort of people are buying from you, what sort of people are you trying to get engaged in your services, etc. Talk to your audience, and don't put yourself under too much pressure about I've got to post every day and it's got to look fantastic, because there's all these many different ways that you can use the platforms, which don't have to be hard work, if you like.
I guess it's something about posting, instead of posting every day, if you haven't got the time to begin with, is about commenting, liking, and sharing other people's content.
Yes, actually, yeah, and that's another big tip, is engage. Find your audience, engage in other things. If you're selling to local people, look at local groups and stuff. And actually, on Facebook now, some groups do allow you to join as your page, which is useful. Although I would always say, take notice of the group rules, because some days they have, only have business posts on a Saturday, for example.
Right.
But then there's business groups on Facebook as well. So it's about networking as well on the platforms.
I'm just seeing what you've got on screen there. You've not quite gone through that yet, but I just love those points at the end, Rachel. We always talk at Action Coach about test and measure. And such a key point, I think, in any social media, isn't it, to test and measure, to make sure you're continuously reviewing and improving what you're doing.
Yeah. Just, and that is, and have fun with it. That's the big one. Don't be scared of it and have fun with it. But do be prepared to test and adjust. If it's not working one way, then think about another working in another way.
That second to last line on there also takes us back to where we started, doesn't it? In terms of, know where your client is, do your research first, have an idea of, I often talk about Grace. Where does Grace live? How old is Grace? What does Grace like to eat for dinner? What kind of clothes might Grace wear? What kind of job might she do? Give your avatar, give your person a name, and build up a really clear idea about who this individual is that you're trying to reach for your product or service, and then go and find them on social media.
Absolutely.
And Rachel, before we finish, I know that you offer a whole range of services. I'm just going to share my screen again just to bring your contact details up, if that's okay. We go back to it's how well we do it, isn't it? That was the question we were talking about. So it's not about whether we do it or not, it's about how well we do it. And what you've shared this lunchtime has been really beneficial, and we've packed so much in, so I really want to say thank you for that. But before we go, Rachel, somebody might be sitting there at home or in the office, in the workplace, saying to myself, well, I can do this, why do I need Rachel? Rachel, what can you add? And I know you add an awful lot, so what's the benefits of having somebody else other than yourself in the organization doing your social media? Why would we call yourselves to support? Because I know there's lots of reasons. I want to give you the opportunity to plug yourself.
Yeah, so the reasons being, from the basics of setting up a Facebook, Instagram page, you can work with me from the level of doing a power hours with me, where I spend an hour or however many hours you want training you on how to use the platforms, what to post, etc. The benefit is that, and this is the feedback I do get from my power hours, is that I bring another set of eyes onto it, and it's a different. When you're working in your business, you're an expert on that product or service, whereas I am an expert on how to get that across on social media. Yeah. So I can translate. You might say to me, well, I want to be able to talk about XYZ. And I will say, well, this is the way that I would do it on social media, and these are the hashtags I would use, etc. But also, I can audit social media accounts, and it's the big one is setting up and helping people with e-commerce shops and advertising campaigns, strategy, etc.
Brilliant. So a whole range of reasons, a whole number of reasons as to why, having that initial conversation with you, Rachel, could be so beneficial. Whether it's a simple question that Rachel can point you in the right direction, start that conversation off, or whether, it's a case of you feel overloaded and want to just pass it on to somebody else. And one thing I say to all my clients, Rachel, is value your time in a business. As a business owner, you're often the head of marketing, the head of HR, the head of production, head of finance, and if you can pass one bit of that work on to somebody else who's got the skills and can do it far quicker and easier than you, then by all means have a conversation with Rachel, and she will absolutely point you in the right direction and give you that support and advice that you need. So it's been great having you with us, Rachel. I'm just going to put your contact details up on the screen again. Just before I do, if you're interested in other aspects of your business and you need that extra support, or as Rachel just said, you want that extra set of eyes on your business in other areas, we'd love to have a conversation with you ourselves. We have a great product at the moment. It's our Growth Club special for solopreneurs, £50 a week. We get our book club, our profit club, and also our Growth Club coaching program for just £50 a week. So if you're interested in that, please do give me a call. But here's our contact details. I just want to leave with those on the screen at the very end there. If you have any questions at all, please do get in touch. But for now, Rachel, thank you so much. We filled the hour. We weren't sure how we get on, did we? I know you're a bit anxious at the beginning about we're going to fill an hour.
When I get going, I can't shut up.
But Rachel, what I would ask is, it's been really worthwhile having you here today, and we'd love to invite you back again at some point, either to talk a bit more about social media, or indeed we'd love to know a bit more about your business journey over the last 12 months and how you've had to change your business in light of COVID and the pandemic. So a number of conversations we'd love to have with you back here at Lunch and Learn in the future. Okay. But for now, thank you to all our listeners. I'm going to let you all go and get your lunch. It's 1:55. So as we said, we always finish on the hour. So look forward to catching up with you all on next Monday. And until then, stay well, stay safe, and we will see you all very soon. Take care now. Bye.